Hello and welcome. My name is Clayton Cobb, and this is my submission for the InfoPath team's video competition for 2010. Today you will see a leave request application where my user will request leave, workflow will be kicked off, the manager will approve it, and upon approval the user will not only be notified, but the number of leave days will be updated in a back-end SQL database that houses the leave days. This will incorporate 4 separate Office technologies plus SharePoint Server 2010 and SQL Server 2008 as a backend. I'll start by showing you SQL Server, where I want to show you the current data in this database in this one table. You can see there's 6 users with different number of leave days. Let's pay attention to Jackson Cobb, who has 35. We'll flip back over to the browser, go straight to SharePoint, browse to leave days, which is an external list tied to that data, and you will see right away that J. Cobb has 35 days of leave. Now, we'll go to Jackson Cobb's login. We'll click New. It'll open a browser form, and notice what we have here. We have several fields, but most of them are auto-populated. The only one that isn't is the number of days requested, because you can't know that in advance. However, you can know the current user's name, current user's email address, the current user's number of leave days in the database, plus the current user's manager and the manager's email address. All of this is being derived from not only the current user's username, but the information about that user in the profile database, as well as the information about that person's manager. So what I'd like to mention is that the contact selector here is editable. I can put in a different name, and you'll see that all the data changes because it's dynamic. It retrieves the information about Anne and fills in all the fields accordingly. And all these are read-only. You can only change them by changing that name. We'll put it back to Jackson, and we'll request 40 days, which will warn me that that's more days than I have available, but it's going to let me do it. Okay, so we see that it's been successfully submitted, and we got a new view that told us that, which is a best practice whenever using a browser form, since you can't do pop-ups. Now the data is in the form library. Workflow is running. Let's see if it completes. Yes, it does. So that means we should have some emails, or an email rather. And here we go. Jackson got CC'd on this email, and Clayton should be addressed. You can see that he is. Everything is dynamic. The subject, the body, with certain pieces of metadata from the form, and then a direct link right back to the form, where I, Clayton Cobb, can tell my son, I don't think so. And doing that makes my button active. And if you also notice, I do have picture buttons. That's a new feature of InfoPath 2010, which I'm using. Click on it. It's rejected. Come back to the library, and you'll be able to see that it's rejected in pending employee. We'll come back to the employee who, it's been rejected. And why? I don't think so. So not only to get the message that it was rejected, but to get the exact comments. So Jackson will come back in and say, oops, I meant to say 4. The warning goes away. No buttons down here, but you do see a pretty emphatic rejection notice. We'll resubmit to reset all of those set fields. And notice that it's pending manager again. Come back to the manager, who should have an email saying it's been submitted again. Yes, it has. We'll go back in. This time we'll say, that's fine. Roll over our button, which has a rollover button image that is a little different than the regular image. Hit approve. It's been approved. There'll be another email that Jackson gets saying it's been approved, and these are how many days you have left. You notice 31 days. But let's go check in SharePoint. Didn't we have an external list that showed this? Yes, we do. We hit refresh, and oh look, change to 31. Well, what about in the database? Okay, go to the database, select top rows, and there we go, Jackson Cobb 31. So there's an end-to-end solution with a very dynamic logic-filled form that auto-populates itself for the most part, and allows you to read data directly from a SQL database by using an external list that leverages the business connectivity services in SharePoint. And then we're not only able to read from it, but we're able to write back to it so that it changes the data in SQL all through InfoPath, SharePoint Designer, a little bit of Visio for workflow visualization, SharePoint Server, SQL Server, and all of it is done without code. Thank you very much.